David Bloom here with Tedd Cittadine, the SVP of Streaming Services Partnerships for Roku, which just passed 100 million subs. Or I guess, yeah, it's users. It's not really subscribers, right?
Accounts.
Active accounts.
Yes, which is a proxy for a house.
Right. And that's a pretty big number, and that is largely in North America, correct?
We haven't disclosed between North America or international.
But the chances are,
It is a global number and a growing number in all territories.
now your job though, I've got a couple of Roku devices hooked up to various screens that I have. So I get to see what you guys do, but it's an interesting time for the streaming subscription, it feels like. There's some consolidation probably about to happen, right? With what's going on with Warner Brothers and Paramount Sky. What's your sense at this point of the state of the subscription business? Like more people are averaging about 4 subscriptions now. They change in and out much more actively than they did 3 years ago.
Yep.
What's the sense of the state of the business from your end as one of the major TVOS providers, platforms?
Yeah, there's a great question. We're really optimistic about the subscriptions business in general. We've invested a lot in that space the last few years. And ultimately, we believe it's just giving consumers more choice. And so all of these services are available a la carte, many of which are in premium subscriptions where we sell the subscriptions directly to our users. That's been a very, very strong growth business for us. And I think generally, I've been around for 10 years, which is streaming a pretty long time. And we always talked about in the early days, we could just get premium sports content, premium content on stream.
No longer an issue.
It will arrive. Well, that came last year, and now the NFL conference available all the time. A bunch of it is available on through Roku premium subscriptions directly. It's just a combination of great content. It's available to the user, more choice, more flexibility, lower prices, great experiences like we have in the Roku channel for premium subscriptions. All of that equals a really large business. So I'm optimistic about where the business is going based on all this.
Can you give me any kind of scale about, and we've heard Amazon makes a few billion a year off of its channels program. Can you give me any kind of scale about how big that program is for you guys?
So we haven't disclosed that historically. Going forward, you'll see
in this interview, you are going to disclose it.
See some.
I'm just saying, like in the next minute and a half, right?
I will say this: that it's a good business, it's a growing business, and we've invested a lot in that business. David, Roku starting out in the olden days, we were a company.
You were a dongle maker.
Dongle maker, then TVOS company. We got the platform business. Then we pushed heavily into the ads business, and now we're pushing into the subscriptions business. It's a lot of investment. And those two business models, kind of like the old traditional television ecosystem, ads plus subscriptions, that's a great business. That's a great model. Those two complement each other. And as we're seeing, both of those businesses are doing very well for us.
Yeah. And I do think that that's an interesting thing because you're effectively recapitulating the history of television in some ways, right? I mean, other than the whole Texaco Star Theater, which you haven't quite done yet, but you guys have sort of the equivalent with the Texaco Star Theater end cap in your screensaver kind of, right? I mean, those things are a way to have sponsorships, a different kind of advertising. So is the vision with the subscription stuff? I mean, how is it that you all drive what clearly is an opportunity to make some nice money, fairly passive as a gatekeeper, you're making money off of this, right? Because you get a share of the stuff that gets sold. But how is it that you encourage uptake in some of these services? What's the process? What's the back and forth between you and your streaming clients? How does that work?
Yeah, and there's a couple different ways to generate subscriptions and how we work with partners. They can have direct consumer app on Roku, like Disney Plus,
Yeah,
Netflix. or they can be part of our premium subscriptions model where we sell the subscription directly to the end user, or they can do both. And most partners do both. And so from our viewpoint, we just want to get the user the best model and the best content that we can. We think we're pretty good at doing it ourselves in premium subscription, but I'll give you a couple of reasons why we think we're pretty good at doing it. I think we bring an incremental user to some of our subscriptions partners that they can't necessarily find on their own. There's been some good research and data from Antenna suggesting that maybe 75% or so of users that come in through a channels business model are new and incremental to what's an app they've gotten on their own. So that's one thing that we think we do.
75% is a pretty big number.
Big number. Yeah.
I mean, because like I guess it's like they would need to know where to go look, and they may not know where to do that. And this makes it easy to stumble across it, right?
They may not know if they're looking for great content on a Tuesday night, and they may subscribe because they find something great. So bring in an incremental user. I think second is that we can generate new subscriber at a pretty low cost. As you know, when you're in a direct consumer business, it's expensive to shoot and sign up new customers.
Which is why churn is so painful.
That's right. Churn is painful when you lose them, but we have such a large funnel, such a large platform that we can, have tools that we use on our own to generate new users for our subscription partners. So that's something I think we can do particularly well. I think the third thing is we offer an aggregated experience. So if you're a hardcore HBO Max lover, there's an app for that, and that's a great experience for you. But if you want to enjoy your HBO Max content alongside your Peacock content, and alongside your Paramount Plus content, you can do that in the Roku interface, not have to go in and out of apps. And that's a very, we think, a value-added experience.
I'm usually pretty focused about what I'm looking for when I go into your all's interface. So I kind of know what I'm looking for. Most people are not probably that focused, but I'm curious, do you have like out on the front of things in some fashion, here's The Pit, here's Severance, here's Bridgerton, because we know you've watched them in the past, and therefore we're going to make them very available because new seasons are up. And you're doing that kind of stuff.
So, yeah, absolutely. So we are a content first home screen now, where we have rows of content directly on the home screen available for the user, and all of that is ML driven. So we're looking to have users that have certain services and engage more on those services. Users that like certain kinds of content, we're going to recommend content that's very similar to help people discover great content that they haven't been exposed to before. We have elements in our UX you continue watching. So you can pick up right in your last episode and continue watching great Apple TV Plus series, for example. So all those things we think we do very well because we're a platform. And as Charlie Collier, our head of Roku Media, says, we're the lead into all TV. And we can offer.
Charlie's been around for a while.
He's been around for a while, and a fellow Fox alum. So a naturally brilliant guy,
and also scarred.
That's right.
Just saying.
That's right.
But
lead into TV, and so we think we can get this great aggregated experience, offer all this content, all your subscription content. You don't have to go in and out of apps. Find that.
Well, that does feel. It's interesting because it decouples the content from the source, which I think is both interesting, but it's also a little bit like, with Spotify playlists, we no longer know which album that song came from. 20 years ago, you listened to the whole album and you knew what order that song was in the thing and all that. And now it's a song. I like that song. That's great. Let's do that. I don't know where it is. It's really interesting, that decoupling. Any thoughts about what that means from services then? I mean, how do we, there's been some recent stuff that we've written about in the brand identities are not great in streaming. Like, how do you help build brand identities for these services when we have a decoupled experience that's better for the consumer, and maybe not as good for the provider?
It's good. We actually think about that a lot.
Yeah.
And our viewpoint is that we really work with our partners to develop and expose users to that brand. In fact, we think that's a good thing because, one, we want consumers to know where they got good content so they can get more of that content.
Right.
I think, two, these are great brands. Apple, one of the best brands in the world. HBO Max stands for extremely high quality content.
And a whole lot of Emmys.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of Peacock, great 100-year-old brand. And so a lot of these, we think they have great affinity and are really driving a lot of great brand affiliation for Roku as well. And so look at how we market these services. You see it's branded when we offer subscriptions on the Roku channel. We have branded subscriber pages for our partner that aggregate and post their content. And so I'd say try to make the experience very easy. So we give you what content you want to watch in a very easy aggregated experience. Or we're very much in supporting our partner's brand because we think that's good for us. It's good for our partners. It's also good for the user as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important when we start talking about things like churn, and obviously that's again very expensive.
Yep.
Pretty much Netflix has licked it about as well as anybody, but everybody else is dealing with this, and having a brand identity is probably one of the ways you keep people around. It's like, oh, I know Apple TV is good for more science fiction stuff.
Right.
For instance, they do that very well. The branding stuff that I've seen, Peacock's really good with sports now. They after February,
yep.
Oh, we're going to there for sports.
Mm-hmm.
Not really watching anything else, but sports, they're really good. They're great. So do you think as we go forward, there will be more differentiation like that? Or are these services all going to continue to try to be not quite all things to all people, but many things to most people?
It's a good question. I think, there will be all audience services. There will be specialty services. They'll have, some services will have both, both price and content. I think the extent that great content will be produced, then services will be okay. And so if they're, they could be in either lane or they can be in both lanes. I think the fact that our job is to make our partner successful. So if they're not successful, we're not successful. We don't get paid unless they get paid. And our job is to service better content to the user. And as long as we do those two things, I think our partners are going to do well and we're going to do well as a result.
Yeah. This is though, it is interesting. This is the next iteration of what Roku is. This is like it sounded like when you rattled off, it's about iteration 6, maybe?
Could be, the studio's been through a few,
yeah, and Roku's been around long before you. Roku's been around about 20 years, right?
20 plus years, yeah.
Yeah. So they've gone through a lot of, they were right up there with Netflix in terms of birthing the medium.
Yeah.
Really, arguably.
Absolutely.
The two of them kind of, not necessarily in lockstep, but probably helping each other. Going forward, any thoughts on where it's all headed?
Mm-hmm. I can give you how we view the world.
And well, that's a good place to start.
Right, maybe unique to us, and hopefully it's right. Is a few things I mentioned that we're here now at a great moment in streaming because all of this great content, high value scripted originals, NFL sports content, it's all available on streaming for the first time. That's a recent thing. We talked about that 10 years ago. If that could ever happen, we'll made it. That's just starting to happen now. So we want to be the lead in to television and help people discover this great content on streaming. That's one. Two, I think, is now we're able to offer this great aggregated a la carte experience where people don't have to spend $120 a month for a huge bundle of a lot of content they don't watch.
Right.
They can choose it a la carte, and that's great for us, great for the user, I'd argue, good for services. So we're heavily leaning into our premium subscriptions business. And in addition to that, we built a lot of the tech infrastructure for bundles and letting consumers choose lower price bundles. Bundles that suit them better than a $120 Bassett bundle. I think that is something that we're really looking for. It's great content. It's great a la carte subscriptions and access to subscriptions. Third is
flexibility, really.
Flexibility, absolutely. Third is lower cost. And you mentioned like Roku, that's been our North Star ever since, we started the company 20 plus years ago.
Right.
Great products, exceptional price. That was the secret to our player business, still is. We launched the Roku channel maybe 8 or 9 years ago. Now, fifth largest streaming service.
Yeah.
And there's no better price than free. It's a great content experience. And then we just launched Audi in last year.
Right.
We saw a niche where these subscription services getting super expensive, particularly the ones without ads. And our founder, Anthony, his point is, you know what, there's a business for us here. Let's follow a typical Roku market view of, let's have a great product at an exceptional price. And so we have a $3 ad-free product.
It's $2.99 a month, right?
$2.99 a month, and it's doing great. And so, we're going to keep focusing on the things that we do well, and all those things. Great content. We're going to find user and help discover that. More selection, more choice in subscriptions, and then low cost free products.
So Howdy is no original content, right? It's
No original content.
it's all quality stuff. It's all licensed.
I would say that we do have Roku originals that are in Howdy
Right.
that we produce. So that
Right. Yeah, I went to a NFL documentary screening a couple of years ago at the NFL offices over by SoFi. It was great. It was a very entertaining piece that you guys did in conjunction with NFL Films.
Yep.
But you're talking about things like that. You all have a modest original
Yes.
business.
Yes, exactly.
So that's on there.
So you're looking for the Roku channel. Those originals now will be available in Howdy on an ad-free basis. Sure.
Yeah,
That's right.
but I don't want you to miss your plane either. That would be bad. But you can sit in the back of our car on the way back tomorrow. The last bit then is the ad supported side of this. Obviously, the Roku channel has been very successful, done very well. I'm just curious how that folds in with the outside partners. The fast channels.
Mhm.
There are thousands of them.
Yep.
Probably got a few too many. Been a lot of pruning going on, and they kind of accord in and out. I'm just sort of curious where you see that fast component, particularly where it's programming tied to some of your partners, maybe.
Yep.
Where you see that going and how that fits in with the subscription side in terms of what they're putting on Roku.
So it's great. It's great. Great question. That's a great compliment to that business. So fast, we look at as a way for the providers to generate run of money. That's a good thing. Second is it's a great way for them to generate incremental exposure to their content. So you see something on fast, and then you can subscribe to one of their services to get that content more in depth or more of it. And then third is you'll see, and this is going to be something we're going to focus a lot on, it's right to an audience and fast. We can put interactive ads now in our fast channels for one click to subscribe to something that's in our premium subscriptions. Also now, for example, Peacock just announced is coming to premium subscriptions. We watch an NBC fast channel. This is some great NBC content. See an ad, one click, and now you're subscribed to Peacock and you're watching it right there in the moment. And so using this fast content as a way to upsell into these subscription services with our partners. We view it as all good for Roku, all good for the user, now all good for our content partners.
That's interesting. The upsell opportunity with the interactive ads does become a way to generate new customers at a pretty painless way for customer acquisition. It's great.
Absolutely.
Well, Ted, thank you so much.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it.
Have a good flight.